The moon, a familiar disk in the night sky, hung like a silent promise above Priya Patel's cramped apartment window. Promises felt a luxury for Priya. Most nights, her promises were to her 7-year-old daughter, Maya. A bedtime story, a homemade lunch, a successful science fair project. Tonight, the only promise was to herself. Just one more hour. The screen glowed, illuminating her tired but determined face. Formulas danced across her monitor, intricate calculations for atmospheric modeling, a symphony of numbers that, to Priya, painted the very breath of distant worlds. As an astrophysicist, her mind often soared among the stars, even as her feet remained firmly planted in the chaotic reality of single motherhood. Her apartment was a testament to her life's duality. Textbooks on quantum mechanics shared shelf space with Maya's crayon drawings of rocket ships. A half-eaten bowl of cereal sat beside her formidable computer setup. Every surface was a battlefield of intellectual pursuit versus domestic duty. Sleep was a distant memory, a luxury she couldn't afford if she wanted to catch the fleeting window of quiet before Maya woke up. 4 years, the dream had flickered, a distant Mars in her personal galaxy. The NASA Mars Program Scholarship. It was an audacious application, a Hail Mary pass thrown across the vastness of space and her even vaster responsibilities. Who was she, a perpetually exhausted single mom battling daycare woes and grant proposals, to vie for a spot among the world's brightest, fittest minds? Yet, the application had been submitted, fueled by a deep-seated longing that resonated with Maya's own boundless curiosity. "Mommy, will people live on Mars one day?" Maya would often ask, eyes wide with the wonder Priya felt every time she looked at the night sky. The email landed in her inbox a week later, not with the fanfare of a rocket launch, but with a quiet ping. Priya almost missed it, buried under school newsletters and overdue bill reminders. The subject line was terse, NASA Mars Program, Scholarship Update. Her heart, usually so steady in the face of academic pressure, hammered against her ribs. She clicked, her breath held captive in her lungs. The words blurred, then sharpened, coalescing into a single, undeniable truth. "Congratulations, Dr. Patel. We are delighted to offer you a place." Priya read it 3 times. Then, she let out a sound somewhere between a choked sob and a triumphant laugh. It wasn't a dream. It was real. She had done it. The elation, however, was quickly followed by a tide of apprehension. How would she manage? Maya. Her job. Her life. This wasn't just a research grant. This was a complete upheaval, a move to Houston, months of intensive training. "Mommy, what's wrong?" Maya stood in the doorway, rubbing sleep from her eyes, a small, worried frown on her face. Priya tried to compose herself, a wide, shaky smile spreading across her face. She knelt, pulling Maya into a fierce hug. "Nothing's wrong, my little star. Everything's amazing. Mommy got a scholarship. To NASA." Maya's eyes widened, then lit up like a supernova. "The rocket place? The one with the big moon rocks?" Priya nodded, tears escaping her eyes now, hot and undeniable. "Yes, sweet pea. The rocket place. But it means Mommy has to go away for a little while. To train." Maya's smile faltered. "Alone?" The question, so small, so innocent, weighed 1,000 tons. "Not alone, darling. Grandma will come. And we'll talk every single day. And I'll send you postcards from space, even if I'm just pretending." The ensuing weeks were a whirlwind of packing, goodbyes, and frantic organization. Maya, bless her resilient heart, was excited for Grandma Camp, but clung to Priya with an extra tenacity that tugged at her soul. Every goodbye felt like a miniature farewell to her own identity as a constant presence in Maya's life. Then, she was there. NASA's Johnson Space Center was a sprawling symphony of innovation and ambition, a stark contrast to her quiet, academic world. The buildings hummed with purpose, the air thrumming with the energy of collective dreams. Priya, in her sensible shoes and slightly worn blazer, felt an immediate sense of both belonging and profound inadequacy. She was one of 16 scholarship recipients, a diverse group of brilliant minds from across the globe. Among them were Charlotte, a prodigy of robotics engineering barely out of her teens, whose quick wit and even quicker mind were immediately apparent. And Reagan, a former military pilot with an impressive background in aerospace medicine, whose calm demeanor belied a laser-sharp focus and an enigmatic smile. The training was relentless. Early mornings, grueling physical drills, seemingly endless simulations. Priya, used to long nights hunched over research papers, found her body protesting the demands of zero-G maneuvers in the neutral buoyancy lab and the dizzying rotations of the multi-axis trainer. She felt the gap between her intellectual prowess and her physical conditioning acutely. Sometimes, she'd catch Charlotte's fleeting glance, a mixture of competitive fire and a hint of concern. "You look like you wrestled a Martian in your sleep, Dr. Patel," Charlotte quipped one morning, watching Priya gingerly stretch her aching shoulders. Priya managed a tired smile. More like a 7-year-old who thinks 5 a.m. is prime time for philosophical debates. Charlotte, surprisingly, chuckled. "Single mom, huh? That's a lot." She didn't sound condescending, merely observational. Reagan, ever the pragmatic one, offered a protein bar. "It's a marathon, not a sprint, Priya. Fuel up. And don't be afraid to take a few extra minutes for yourself, even if it feels forbidden." Priya appreciated their unspoken understanding. She might be older, but here in this new world, they were all equals, driven by the same cosmic ambition. Yet, the guilt gnawed at her. Every late-night simulation, every extra hour in the lab, was an hour not spent FaceTiming Maya, an hour she wasn't there to kiss a scraped knee or read a bedtime story. Maya's cheerful drawings of "Mommy in Space," taped above her bunk, were a constant reminder of both her motivation and her sacrifice. One afternoon, during a particularly grueling navigation simulation, Priya felt the familiar sting of self-doubt. The complex star charts, the pressure to make instantaneous decisions under simulated system failure. It was overwhelming. She made a critical error, guiding their virtual spacecraft off course. "Patel, what was that?" The instructor's voice boomed through the comms. Priya's face burned. "My apologies, sir. Lost focus." After the debrief, Charlotte caught up to her. "You okay? You're usually so meticulous." Priya sighed, running a hand through her hair. "Just tired. Missing Maya. Wondering if I made a mistake coming here." Charlotte, surprisingly, put a hand on her shoulder. "Hey, everyone has their off days. But you're the reason I signed up for this scholarship. Your paper on exoplanet atmospheres was mind-blowing. Don't let a bad sim mess with your head." Priya looked at the young woman, surprised by the unexpected support. "Thank you, Charlotte." Reagan joined them, a thoughtful expression on her face. "She's right, Priya. What you bring is unique. We have the physical endurance, the technical prowess. But your ability to see the bigger picture, to model entire ecosystems from sparse data, that's critical. Don't underestimate the strength you've cultivated balancing a universe of responsibilities." Their words were a bomb. Priya realized she wasn't alone in this. They were a team, a nascent crew, and their diverse strengths were meant to complement each other. She started to lean into their support, and in turn, offered her own. She helped Charlotte unravel a particularly tricky orbital mechanics problem, and shared her astrophysics insights with Reagan for a medical research project. They became a microcosm of the collaboration required for true space exploration. The physical training, though still challenging, became less daunting when approached with a mindset of gradual improvement. She didn't have Charlotte's youthful spring, but she had a relentless determination that surprised even herself. She learned to pace herself, to appreciate the small victories, a smoother landing in the simulator, an extra minute held in the multi-axis trainer. The climax of the scholarship program was a comprehensive, multi-day Mars mission simulation. They were tasked with establishing a hypothetical Martian outpost, facing unforeseen challenges, equipment failures, and environmental hazards. Priya was assigned as the lead astrophysicist and mission planner, a role that required her to integrate data from all disciplines and make critical decisions. On the third day, a simulated dust storm, more severe than anticipated, threatened their communications array. Without it, their data link to Earth would be severed, jeopardizing the entire mission. The team scrambled. Charlotte's robotic skills were put to the test, trying to deploy autonomous repair drones, but the ferocity of the storm caused repeated failures. Reagan, ever calm, monitored the crew's vitals, ensuring they weren't succumbing to stress or simulated hypoxia. Priya, however, found herself thinking not just as an astrophysicist, but as a mother. She remembered Maya's Lego creations, how a single misplaced block could destabilize the whole structure. She looked at the failing drone telemetry, then at the star charts displaying the simulated Martian sky. The wind shear isn't constant, Priya exclaimed, tapping furiously at her console. It's following a localized atmospheric eddy, a predictable pattern based on the crater's topology. We're fighting the current, but we could ride it. Charlotte looked up, her brow furrowed. Ride it? How? We don't try to go against the strongest winds, Priya explained, her voice gaining confidence. We deploy the drone when the eddy's rotational pull is at its weakest point on the trajectory towards the array, using the storm's energy to push it into place, rather than fight it. It's counterintuitive, but it's like a slingshot effect. It was a risky maneuver, born from an understanding of fluid dynamics that often went beyond engineering and into the very fabric of planetary science. It required a leap of faith and perfect timing. Can you plot that trajectory, Charlotte? Priya asked, her eyes shining with focus. Charlotte nodded, her fingers flying across her keyboard. It's tight, but yes, it's possible. Reagan, after a quick mental calculation of risk versus reward, gave a decisive nod. Let's do it. With Priya's precise timing and Charlotte's expert drone control, they launched the repair drone at the precise moment. The simulated storm buffeted it, but instead of tearing it apart, the localized wind pattern indeed nudged it towards the communications array. A cheer erupted as the drone docked, its repair sequence initiating. Communications restored. Mission saved. The triumphant rush that followed was unlike anything Priya had ever experienced. It wasn't just about the scientific victory. It was about the collaborative spirit, the trust they had placed in each other, and the realization that her unique perspective, honed by years of unorthodox problem-solving both in the lab and at home, was not a weakness, but a profound strength. When the scholarship program concluded, Priya Patel stood among her peers, a certificate in her hand, a profound sense of accomplishment in her heart. She wasn't just an astrophysicist anymore. She was a certified space program alumna, her name now etched into the future of space exploration. Charlotte, beaming, threw an arm around her. You crushed it, Dr. Patel. You're going to Mars, I can feel it. Reagan smiled, a genuine warmth in her eyes. You taught us all a thing or two, Priya. About resilience. And about looking at problems from every angle, even the ones you learn from putting together Lego sets. Priya smiled back, her eyes misting. And you too taught me what real teamwork looks like. Back home, Maya tackled her with a hug so fierce it nearly knocked the wind out of her. Mommy, you're back. Did you go to space? Priya laughed, pulling her daughter close, inhaling the scent of sunshine and childhood. Not yet, my little star. But I'm closer than ever. And I learned so much. About rockets and stars, and how to never give up, even when it's hard. Later that night, as Maya slept soundly, Priya went to her window. The moon still hung there, a familiar disk, but now it felt different. It was no longer a silent promise, but a stepping stone. Beyond it, Mars glowed, a faint reddish beacon, no longer a distant dream but a tangible destination. Priya Patel, single mother, astrophysicist, and future explorer, knew the journey was far from over. There would be more challenges, more sacrifices, more late nights fueled by coffee and dreams. But she also knew she wasn't alone. She had found her crew, reaffirmed her purpose, and most importantly, shown her daughter that the biggest dreams are not just for the chosen few, but for anyone brave enough to reach for the stars, one determined step at a time. The universe, after all, was waiting, and so was she. That will be all for today. Don't forget to subscribe and hit the notification button. Goodbye.